Hi, my name is Anay. We started Troo Food in 2009, and it just came about like naturally, organically. It just happened. We were all friends, and we were interested in the same things, and we had the same values, and we had the same like aims, and we just got together and decided to make it a more solid, collective, and to define ourselves and exactly what we wanted to do and to focus on that. So it came about quite organically.
Hi, I'm Ellie. Zanai's being a little bit modest. It pretty much all stems from her. She's a seed that it started from. We all used to do cooking classes with Zanai, and then vegan raw cooking classes. And then we started working together, and then it started flowing organically. So.
And I'm Martin. Why are you making a face at me? No, and I came to Greece a little over a year ago and started working with these guys. And yeah, just over time, I think that we've kind of realised that we can't do anything else. Like, we've got so stuck into what we're doing, we kind of live what we're doing. And so now it's everything that we do.
There's also a Daphne as well.
Oh, there's also a Daphne.
Yes.
There's a Daphne.
Who's not present right now. Okay.
She's travelling at the
She's in
moment.
Brazil right now. She's touring.
So what is the exact concept of True Food? What's it all about? I mean, you've mentioned a few things so far.
Just to raise our consciousness of the food that we eat and where it comes from, because it stems from a very basic thing that water, we're 70% water, the food is 70% water, and water can soak up energies, whether that's negative or positive. So what you put into the food and what the farmers who have grown it have put into the food and how it travels and comes to you, it affects this.
Your body, it affects your body, it affects the way you think. Like, food isn't just, a mindless...
It's not to like fill yourself up, it's to actually nourish yourself, it's medicine. And you think about people, no one would ever put bad gas into their car, and why? Because it will break down, but people do it every day with their bodies, and then we pay for it in the future, which is sad. So it's more about preventing and keeping your body young and healthy and strong.
And also there's the animal rights dimension to it, that we want to respect all forms of life, and we don't want to be violent toward any form of life. And the present state of the meat industry and the dairy industry is extremely violent in the manner that they treat animals. So we try to avoid supporting that by personally boycotting it and not eating it.
And it kind of makes sense that violence and that sort of bad practice in the meat and dairy industries and the food industry in general, like not just the complete disregard for the consumers, and the way that the consumers are treated completely as a commodity by the people who are putting this food out, and who may even be saying that it's healthy food, are kind of just lying. And that's passed on from the very top down to the consumer, but we're told different. Like, we don't realise that.
A lot of people who are in the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, are also people who own major corporations that manufacture these foods. So they're telling us, like with the whole milk thing, that milk has calcium. Yes, it has calcium in it, but our bodies can't absorb it because it's liquid protein, and protein stops absorption of calcium.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's more calcium in almonds.
Yeah, nut milks.
Nut milks and stuff like that. It's not that it's not in there, it's just that our bodies can't absorb it. And also that a cow's molecules are much bigger than our molecules, so we can't. It doesn't.
And I've heard a lot about milk, talking of milk, that it actually can create cancer, or if you have a tendency towards cancer, that it can increase that risk?
Because the only two growth hormones are alike are the bovine, the cow, and the human. So if you do have the cancer cells within yourself, like for women who have breast cancer, they should stay away from milk for sure. Because
if we're on dairy, because dairy is interesting, because you pretty much think that you pretty much relate a glass of milk with something really healthy and something that mothers give their children, and you have to drink milk for your bones to be strong. and it's really deceptive. And the milk industry has done a very good job with like their advertisement / propaganda to promote that idea. And it's very like the demand for milk is so high that the cows, like a cow produces milk because it's pregnant and it gives birth to a baby calf, and so because there's such a high demand, they're injected with a lot of hormones. So if you see the cows, the dairy cows, they're like completely deformed from all the hormones, and those hormones pass on to humans. So like
and also the
way they're milked.
The udders get cut and pus and blood goes into the milk.
So enjoy your morning coffee on the way to work.
Make almond milk.
Yeah, but the point is, and that's what we're about, is
Let's not forget later to give a recipe for almonds.
Is that our alternatives are so like tasty as well. Like that's the whole point, that you're not losing out on any of your frothy, milky, cappuccino that you love to drink. You can drink that, but like instead of cow milk, you use almond milk.
What about soya milk? Because I was drinking soya milk and a friend of mine told me that that's really bad for you as well.
It's okay once in a while, but it's genetically modified.
Yeah, soya is basically most of the soya that's produced in the world is owned by a company called Monsanto, aka one of the most evil corporations in the world.
Why do you say it so silently?
Because we said we weren't going to come out with our conspiracy theories.
It's not conspiracy. It's well known. It's well known facts that.
There's been a lot of documentaries about food.
It's well known about
Monsanto
companies
is
like
one
that.
of the, like top.
Basically, or the way that I see it is that anything that's like really mass produced and on that large scale, somewhere along the line, something has got to be forfeited to be able to meet that kind of demand. And usually the first thing that is taken out is any kind of health aspect or regard for what the product is. As long as the product is there, it doesn't matter what's in it, because people are going to consume it, because that's the mentality that we're in kind of in the world that we live in. So it doesn't matter what's going into it, as long as something's there. And so they just kind of put whatever they can to create the product.
You're, I guess, from England, Martin?
Yeah, I'm from London.
Okay, so you've grown up in a culture that's very much aware of, veganism, vegetarianism are not a new concept there, but in Greece it is. What about you two, Danai and Eli? You've grown up in Greece, or have you grown up abroad?
I was born and raised in London until 15.
Okay, so you've also grown up with that culture and mentality.
Yeah, and I was very lucky, blessed by my mum. She made sure that we had organic food, like as much as we could. The food to be organic, which while a child's growing up is very important.
I grew up here, but my mom was also very conscious of what she was feeding us, and we weren't allowed like Coca-Cola or chips or anything like that, which we did rebel. Like when we were little, she did find me in a cupboard at a birthday party, munching away on chips and stuff. But at the end, retrospectively, there was a strong foundation for eating healthy.
Yeah, it's like you don't even realize, you don't consciously start to think about, like once you come from that background, you don't have to make so much of an effort to like be aware of organic foods or healthy foods. What you're more aware of is, oh no, I don't eat that bright packaged thing, So
but I guess that is challenging when after a certain age you go out into the real world in a way,
and you make the choices for
everyone
yourself.
Around you is doing that. They're taking the easy, accessible and cheap options, which are the pre-packaged consumers.
Cheap for now, but then healthcare, how expensive is that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you've got a very good point there. So going back to Troo Food Liberation and what you're doing here in Athens, what kind of reactions have you been met with? I mean, I know there's a lot of enthusiasm for what you're doing, but what about the overall attitude? Because I know that in Greece, people really love their meat, for example, and their dairy.
When we were working at a restaurant, we did a 3-month collaboration at a restaurant. People would come and they'd be like, oh, I expected not to be full or not to enjoy it or not to be satisfied, and then they left and
they came with loads of prejudices.
They came with it, but
left really satisfied and happy. And people really don't have a choice anymore not to see what's happening now, because it's such a global issue and the food issues are connected with so many things, and there's always new research pointing to how important food is in connection to your health. And it doesn't only affect our bodies and our health, but also another dimension of what we do is like the food justice issues, like the supporting local farmers and how important that is, and how important it is for the environment. Like, it's not only connected to our health, but it's the environment's health, which is we are connected to the environment, and if our environment isn't healthy, then we're not going to be healthy. As we were saying before about mothers, like young mothers, young Greek mothers are paying attention, because when you have a child and you have that responsibility and you see your child and you want it to be healthy and happy, then you're going to start doing everything possible and researching and being open, and and it's such a simple connection. Like if you eat well and if you eat things that have been grown with love, then you're gonna feel well.
But there's very much the theory that you need your eggs, you need your meat for protein. This is very much part of, it's ingrained in the mentality. What do you say to that? How can someone balance out their food so that they're eating all the nutrients they need?
I agree. So if you see a plate of food, it's like meat and then a tiny bit of vegetables and like a lot of potato. It's really imbalanced.
But also even the content of the food, it's like we said earlier, you're not gonna, if you're thinking, I need to get my protein, so I'm going to have a dish with some meat. That piece of meat is not going to be any wonderfully like high grade piece of meat that's going to feed you all these wonderful proteins. And all these parts of the diet that you think you're getting from these places, from these parts of a meal, again, it's not necessarily true, like, because what we're told about health and nutrition is such a small amount to get us to consume these things. Like, once you start to even just dig slightly below the surface, you realize that you're not getting what you want from what you think you're getting from what's in front of you. Like, compared to what's out there, compared to how much you can boost your system by, like, for example, the proteins in meat, it's the same with the milk. They're very hard for us to digest.
And when you cook them as well, the molecules change.
Yeah,
like the enzyme locking key, it changes.
And yet, when you look at the proteins that are available in like a whole range of different foods, which aren't meat at all,
like
pulses and like and spirulina and hemp and all of these foods that are higher in protein than steak, which people think protein steak.
Well, it's
egg steak.
It's protein that's absorbable.
Basically.
It's more
usable protein.
Because there's no point in like the amount of protein that you would need, like the amount of meat you would need to eat to get like the protein you need would be a huge amount of meat, and by eating the meat, it's hard to digest, and your body is heavy, and it's just not worth the side effects of that.
And that's just purely because you're not taught these things. The only way that I know these things is from learning from these guys and from like doing our work, like.
And from experiencing it physically as well. Yeah. Like, you start to see a difference in your energy.
You just don't notice things.
But how are you, as a Troo Food Liberation, helping people to do that more, to understand how they can eat in a very healthy and vegan way without it becoming a complicated process?
See, it's funny, we try not to tell people don't eat meat. That's not what we're doing. We're showing them, here, eat this instead, and giving recipes and doing classes.
Tell us a bit more about your classes and recipes.
Our recipes are all original. As you said, cooking is very creative, so we always, like, it's hard, for me personally, it's very hard to follow a recipe. So, and when we're all cooking collectively, it's really fun in the kitchen, and we always make up new recipes on the spot, and it's just a very creative process when we're cooking. And we do raw cooking classes, raw vegan cooking classes. We do Ayurvedic classes. We don't personally do, but our friends do. We organize them.
Lots of cacao, lots of chocolate.
We do lots of
chocolate classes.
Yeah, we do like nice desserts that are, fat-free, sugar-free.
Good for diabetics.
Good for diabetics.
Well, thank you so much for being on Athens.
Thank you so
I wish
much.
you the best of luck with what you're doing. It's very exciting and positive.
Thank you.
And keep us updated with all your news.
For sure.
We will.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.